We're only a few days away from Canon making an announcement which will see the long-awaited R3, a new 16mm f2.8 which has accidentally already been leaked by Amazon, and then a 100-400 which has been rumoured for a while but has also had images leaked by Nakashita. And straight away it's apparent that this is not going to be an L-grade lens like Canon's previous 100-400s, mainly because they've already covered that with the 100-500. The big talking point about this lens though is its aperture range. Most other 100-400s are either f4.5 to 5.6 or f5 to 6.3. This one appears to be f5.6 to f8. So it's a full stop slower than Canon's own DSLR 100-400s at the long end. Now this slowing of apertures seems to be a trait of RF lenses. The aforementioned 100-500 is an f5.6 to 7.1. Granted, it's an extra 100mm on the long end over a 100-400, but its aperture drops off sooner. It's only an f5.6 until 360mm. Now obviously in reality that's not a huge difference, but it is a lot more prominent in their non-L lenses, like the RF 24-105 STM is an f4 to 7.1, while the older DSLR version was an f3.5 to 5.6. Then there's the 600 and 800 STMs, both of those are fixed to f11, and now a 100-400 f5.6 to f8. So why are Canon opting for these slower lenses? Partly it's because they can. DSLR focusing systems would only see a portion of the light coming through the lens because the rest of it had to be diverted up into the viewfinder so you could see. As a result, they could only focus with lenses at about f5.6 or faster. With mirrorless though, it's the sensor doing the focusing, so it's getting to see all of the light from the lens, which means the camera can focus with lenses as low as f11. But that's true of all mirrorless cameras, and yet it seems to be only Canon that are opting for these really slow apertures. Now, this drop in aperture isn't necessarily a bad thing. Yes, it means you've got less light, which could force you to shoot at higher ISOs, especially if you're shooting fast action subjects, and you also won't get as much background separation as you would with a faster aperture. But on the other hand, a slower maximum aperture means less glass, which means the lens can generally be made smaller and lighter so it's easier to carry round, something which is very apparent with this 100-400. Retracted down, it's almost exactly the same size as a 70-200 f4 DSLR lens, so quite a bit smaller than a normal 100-400. The other upshot to having less glass is cost. That and the fact that the overall build quality won't match up to L-grade lenses, so the reported price for this lens is only $650. By comparison, the 100-500 is over 4 times that price. And even third-party rivals can't match it. The Sigma 100-400 is about $300 more expensive. And it's not actually available in RF mount anyway, so kind of makes it semi-irrelevant. But that lens is still 2/3 of a stop faster, so where do you draw the line? I mean, they could make a 400mm f32 and sell it for a $5, but that would only be of interest to anyone who's trying to photograph the sun. No doubt this lens is going to appeal to some people. Those on a tight budget, this is one of the cheapest 400mm lenses on the market. People looking for a travel-friendly telephoto lens, again, it's significantly smaller and lighter than most other 100-400s. Or people who regularly shoot at f8 or are always in good light, that aperture range might not be too much of a problem. It's like landscape lenses. Most landscape lenses are f4 or faster, whereas a lot of people will end up using them at f5.6 or f8. They could make a landscape lens that only goes to f8 and is a lot smaller and lighter. No one ever does. I think this 100-400 would pair very nicely though with a high-end APS-C camera to make a very budget-friendly action setup. That just needs Canon to get an R7 released. But then on the other hand, there's no doubt that for some people that aperture range will be a deal breaker. Your only options then are either forking out a lot more money to get a 100-500, Or the less expensive alternative is to grab something like a second-hand DSLR 100-400 LIS2 and stick it on an adapter. As always, it's horses for courses. Me personally, I would probably be put off by that aperture range and would likely favour adapting a DSLR lens instead. But where is your limit in terms of aperture and at what cost? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. While you're down there, please consider supporting this channel by hitting the like and subscribe buttons, and then hopefully we'll see you in the next video.